All signs point to this. Some negotiations will need to go on to make both parties happy, but when two people want something, they learn to compromise. Implications here, let's talk about it. Welcome in to Devil's Digest. We'll be here all summer long. Hope you will be too, joining us as we talk Devils hockey. Look, I said it last episode. As we get into the summer and the summer keeps going on, there's going to be rumors, speculation, and it looks like we're already starting. Nikita Gusev is trying hard to make an NHL return next season. Now, if you don't remember who Nikita Gusev is, he was the Russian phenom who came over in 2019. Vegas was trying to get him for a playoff run. Their season ended a little bit earlier that year. So when summer kicked around, it was, what is Vegas going to do? Are they going to try and play with him? Are they going to trade him? What was Vegas going to do? Number of teams got in on the sweepstakes, and New Jersey wound up winning those sweepstakes. I mean, you go back to that offseason, that's probably the busiest offseason New Jersey's had in the past decade. They drafted first overall. They traded for PK Subban. Taylor Hall was coming back a year removed from a Hart Trophy season. And they just topped it off with trading for Nikita Gusev. Didn't even take a lot, just a third-round pick. And when Gusev came over, and what were the expectations were? I mean, he was dominant in Russia. He's now top 10 all-time in point scoring in the KHL. Dominant player. And, when I looked at him back in 2018 or 2019, when the Devils traded for him, just watching this play, just one of the smartest offensive players. Just based on offense alone, one of the smartest hockey players I've seen. He thinks the play before it even happens. And I don't just say that. He already knows who's going to be open. He knows how to create. He knows how to get a defenseman off balance. How to get a defenseman, in a different position, the one that's not even on him. One of the smartest hockey players in terms of offense that I've ever seen. And his points in the KHL, they would show it. He's top 10 all time. Now, the knock on Gusev always was, when he was over in the NHL, was his skating. Because could he think the play? Was he creative? That was definitely there. But his skating definitely was an issue. He wasn't the fastest guy. He kind of had, not weird style per se. He kind of maybe wasn't the best on rush chances. He kind of needed his space. But there was no doubt he could create and put up points. Now, you can call me stubborn. It's okay. I don't mind it. I'm still one of those believers that Nikita Gusev can get in the NHL and be a star. Be a 70-point player, top 6 role, and replicate what he was doing in the KHL. You go ahead and you look at what Gusev did in the NHL. 66 games, 44 points, 20 games out of the second season, kind of a shorter sample size. I don't think people remember in those 66 games, the final 37 of them, he scored 30 of his 44 points. Following year, just 20 games, the Devils were ready to give up on him. That was it for Nikita Gusev. When you look at a player and, they're dominant in the KHL, they've, shown that they can be, a goal scorer, can create plays, and you give them 20 extra games the following season on a team that, struggled to create offense, younger team. I mean, people said, not a great defensive player. Nobody on that team was very good defensively. They finished towards the bottom of the NHL for a reason. Just putting it all on Nikita Gusev probably doesn't make a ton of sense. And, ultimately, eventually, Nikita Gusev went back to Russia. But you look at that first year, you could see a player who, maybe not the best skater, but you could see he's probably their top 3 offensive player on the team. I mean, there were nights where it would kind of just be, Nikita Gusev and, a bunch of other players who were trying, but, development was happening. There were players on the team who weren't, keeping a roster spot, but that's how the Devils were playing that year. Like I said, the 2 years he was here, team wasn't very good. Injuries happened. They traded Taylor Hall. It was probably a different situation than what he thought he was coming into. Now, when you go over his stats in Russia, and, this is just the recent 2 seasons, looks pretty good. Looks like age probably hasn't caught up to him yet. Now, I know the KHL, a lot less defense, much more open league, bigger ice. You can look at all of that and kind of say that, these things work in the KHL and won't work in the NHL. Well, you can't exactly, teach talent. When you got a player like Nikita Gusev who can put up 89 points in 68 games, followed the next year, point per game season, and that's not just something where it's just kind of there. No, this is a player who it's obvious that he can create offense. It's obvious he can make a difference. And when you look at the Devils roster currently right now, in terms of offensive players, top 6 players, they could probably use some of that offense. A player who has been dominant before, who can create, who is an elite playmaker. Right off the bat, and somebody who is going to come over on more of a cheaper deal. Now, obviously, saying that, he wants to come over here, is it New Jersey? Nobody has his rights. There could be a number of teams. I'm sure there'll be a few teams that at least, flirt with the idea. See what it would cost. That's the thing with the cost. It's probably going to be cheap. It's probably going to be around $1 million or less on a 1-year deal. There's not a ton of risk here. It could just be a PTO. I mean, we saw last year he was, over the summer, he was skating in New Jersey. And people are like, oh no, he's just hanging out, just skating. Yeah, okay. He came all the way to New Jersey just to skate, but has no interest in returning to the NHL. All right. But looking at the Devils situation and looking where their cap space is going to be this offseason, to get a player like that, like kind of like, where Arseny Gritsia comes in on a much cheaper deal, and get a player like Nikita Gusev on a cheaper deal, $1 million or less, 1 year. There's really, no, but bad part to it. Doesn't work out. Well, doesn't fit the lineup. You spent $1 million. Not a huge deal. This is somebody who can come in right away and produce. I mean, I think almost Andrei Kuzmenko went back to the KHL after this year after scoring 70 points just a little while ago, because he's not the best skater, not great defensively, has a pretty similar style to Nikita Gusev, goes over to Los Angeles in the right system. Oh, wow. He's back to being, around a point per game player. That's kind of how I felt with Nikita Gusev. Scored 30 points in his final 37 games in 2019-2020. Scoring's gone up by then. It's an offensive league. He provides offense. He does it a lot better than a lot of players we have here right now. I'd love to see a Nikita Gusev reunion. Let me know in the comments, do you want to bring Gusev back? Or if you maybe have another player in mind who you'd want to see come back, let me know in the comments. Hopefully you hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you guys really soon.